So let's start discussing where these gender stereotypes come from, how they develop over child. So here, terminology we should get familiar with. Gender stereotypes are widely held beliefs about characteristics that are thought to be appropriate for males and females. We will talk about what these are. Gender roles are the reflection of gender stereotypes in everyday behavior. So how do cultures adopt these stereotypes and mold them into the ideal man and the ideal woman? Gender identity is your own perception of self as having either masculine or feminine characteristics. So how much do you identify with your biological sex, for example? And gender typing is attaching these gender stereotypes onto objects, activities, roles, professions, traits with biological sex in a way that conform to cultural gender stereotypes. So these four things are very related, but also a little bit different than one another. And gender stereotypes are ingrained in all cultures, Western or Eastern, to varying degrees. So these are commercials from 1950s, 60s. And this one says for Kenwood Chef, it's trying to promote this product, right? And it says, the chef does everything but cook. That's what wives are for. The chef is this gadget. The man is the husband. You mean a woman can open it for a ketchup bottle? Yes. So they made an easy top so that even women could open it. Now, these are real examples from our past. And if today, I actually was giggling to myself this morning as I was reviewing class because I wanted to change a few videos. And every time, you know how like you put on YouTube something and it comes out with a commercial, an advertisement that you have to wait 5 seconds to click skip. And so in those 5 seconds, I got so many gendered ads. I had like a woman in a short dress talking about a washing machine. This was in Turkish. And so I couldn't believe it. So it was an ad after ad after ad. And I guess I don't look at it that way, usually when I go to YouTube. But today it had held significance. I'm hoping that maybe we'll encounter a few of those when we're watching videos today. So these are real. And so are gender stereotypes. So there are masculine traits and feminine traits. And masculine traits have been labeled as instrumental, and feminine traits have been generally labeled as expressive. So the instrumental traits reflect competence, rationality, and assertiveness, whereas the expressive traits emphasize warmth, caring, and sensitivity. Yes. And so here we go. These are the list of traits. And so masculine traits are more being active, being a leader, being aggressive, ambitious, competitive, someone who doesn't give up, who's dominant, who feels superior, resists pressure, who's independent, who easily makes decisions, not easily influenced by others, outspoken, rough, self-confident, who takes a stand. The men in the class, the few men, are feeling lucky. Let's look at the feminine traits. Well, I'm not saying that these are bad traits or these are less important, but they have an underlying flavor to them. So feminine traits are being empathic, being considerate, someone who cries easily, someone who devotes themselves to others, who's emotional, excitable in crisis, doesn't know what to do, fragile, gentle, home-oriented, kind, likes children. Oh, this is a big one, likes children. You have to like children. Neat, needs approval, passive, tactful, warm in relations with others. You know, all of these actually are good things. They're all positive. The idea would be that if we could actually mix them, right, that would be a more balanced view. Now, you might say, who says that these are instrumental and masculine traits? Well, a lot of research does. And the thing is, it hasn't really changed over the past 40 years. So since the 1960s, they've been actually looking at these traits and asking peoples from different cultures, both West and East, to actually label these. And it seems like, even whether they are given a choice to say both, these are actually being clustered separately, consistently, and in an enduring way over time. So this is not just our culture. This is also American culture. This is also European culture. Things are changing. I am not saying they're staying stable. However, this has been the picture for the past 30 years. Banu first. Bir dakika, İpek Denil, evet. We will also see research that says that masculine identified jobs are actually perceived to be more prestigious, both by children and adults also. And so that says, again, something. And yes, and you, by the way, you summarized that research beautifully. Thank you. And yes, it's called the glass ceiling, right? That actually women hit a barrier, an unseen barrier. That's why it's a glass ceiling. When you look up, it looks like sky is the limit, but then you hit your head on this glass ceiling and realize that this is the limit, right? And this is very much unseen because in big corporations, many workplaces, nobody tells one another what they earn. So you might be happy with what you earn. What you don't know is at the same position, a man is earning more. You're doing the exact same job. And that actually is very problematic. And there's a huge movement to actually overcome this. But it also requires that incorporations are transparent about what they pay to individual members of the incorporation. And so gender stereotyping, research shows that its universe, as I said, holds in 30 countries, unchanged in the last 30 to 40 years. This is not limited to personality traits like these. It also transcends into physical appearance. We expect women to be more dainty and elegant, whereas we don't have that expectation of men. Occupations, nurse, teacher, more women's occupations, flight attendant, whereas doctor, lawyer, these are generally, I'm not saying that you guys can't have parents that have, occupations that cross into the other stereotype, but usually they are stereotyped this way. Even professor. I won't engage in this activity today, but you can, if you want, on your spare time, where I Googled professor, and I said, clip art, show me pictures of professors. And of course, most of them are male. You get Einstein, in a lab coat, standing in front of a blackboard. You also, then I put female professor, clip art. I got all sorts of pictures that there's the sexy professor, for example. I don't know where it's coming from. There's the shirt's open, braless professor. I'm like, where are these coming from, right? Who are these professors? Why did I never have one of them? I've had many female professors. None of them were provocatively dressed, right? Stereotyping of children. We're basically looking at the mean masculinity score given to photos of adults and photos of children by adults. So these are adults viewing pictures of children, boys, girls, pictures of adults, women and men. And it seems that adults actually, by the time we become adults, we more or less either inhibit these stereotypes or really effectively learn to think in more liberal ways. But when these adults, the same adults, look at photos of children, their gender stereotyping is more prevalent. It's more observable. So we impose more gender stereotype on the young of our society. So gender stereotyping starts early in childhood. At 18 months to 3 years, children learn to label their own and other sex. And we know from cognitive development that young children are crazy about binary distinctions, right? It's because they also have an inability to keep more than a few categories in mind. So the idea of boy versus girl is easy to juggle for them, and they actually identify as such, and the culture helps a lot. So here you see Fisher and Price products. Both of these actually are rattles for the same age children, and you see one of them is catered more for boys and the other one is catered more for girls. And we're going to watch a TED Talk today that actually from a sociologist who is going to talk about children's toys and gender stereotyping. And do you remember that exercise that gave you bonus points on midterm 1? Where you found ridiculous products that were produced for parents, for their children. I remember, I don't know if that person is in the room, I don't know who posted it, but there was one that was banned later where, no, it wasn't banned. So this is a breastfeeding toy for young girls. Huh. It's like a bra kind of thing where and the picture was awful. It showed a 6-year-old girl who was breastfeeding a toy baby through this thing that she wore on herself, right?
Yes, it was wearing like fake breasts.
Yes. There was also somebody posted a Russian roulette. Is that person here? Russian roulette? Yes. What was that? Can you remind us, the Russian roulette toy? Yes. So that your child, in the comfort of your own home, can play Russian roulette. But you wouldn't buy that for your girl, right? Yes. And so, yes. I mean, those toys, I'm going to keep them forever. You did a wonderful job. A very comprehensive study of the most ridiculous products on sale. So we said gender stereotyping. Gender typing starts early, that children first learn to identify themselves as male or female, identify others as male or female, around 18 months too. They also extend this to objects. Now, this is a looking paradigm. So these 18-month-olds are not labeling. Instead, they are being shown these very bare drawings, one at a time. They don't come up like this, by the way. And there's a picture of a man, a picture of a woman, or a drawing of a man and a woman that they have habituated to beforehand. And when this comes up, a voice says, "Who does this belong to?" And the child looks at the man and the female. And here you see that they actually show some differential patterns of looking where they seem to associate rough, sharp objects, such as this fir tree, with males, and more soft objects like a heart, or more stereotypically female objects like a tiara or crown, with the female. And these are feminine and masculine, gender stereotyping, it says. These are looking times, but what you see is, and this is the female face, this is the male face. These are really, really small differences, okay? Like, let's also be honest about that too. So these are, it's significant, but these are in seconds, as you see. And this is 1.9 seconds. This is 1.8 seconds. This is 1.7 seconds. So we're not really seeing them make very stark preferences, but, you know, statistically it seems to show these differences. Preschoolers associate objects, activities, occupations with gender. They have strong reactions to others who do not conform to their gender stereotypes. And they will attribute stereotypical gender characteristics to others based on gender, even when previous information is in the opposite direction. And so they are more resistant. You will hear more with 3-, 4-year-olds, for example. A girl might say, "I won't play with this because it's a boy's toy." You will more loudly hear boys say, "I won't play with this because it's a girl's toy." And the 3-, 4 years, that actually also has to do with their own development of gender, right? They're trying to understand masculinity, femininity. They're trying to identify with one. And so they're actually a little bit more zealous about keeping these two separate. Now, as I said before, preschool children are more likely to think of the world in more binary categories. And this has to do a lot with their cognitive limitations. For them, for example, men cannot wear skirts. They cannot take care of children. Women cannot be superheroes, and the like. And of course, these are there is media input, so don't tell me about Superwoman or Supergirl. Of course, these are being created, but these are being created in order to change some of these views, too. You have a question? You are absolutely correct. So if, actually, children are more likely, so if middle-class children and minority children in the United States, like African-American children, are less likely to endorse these two gender stereotypes as very different than one another, because African-American children usually have mothers who work, many of them, not usually, I don't want to overgeneralize, but especially low SES, they might actually be from single-parent families where they only have the mother at home who works. So seeing their mother work, obviously, is contrary to these stereotypes, and they actually show less extremism in these. Middle-class children are also more likely to have mothers who are educated and who work. Again, we might see more or less extremism in their views as well. So definitely culture, definitely family matters. So it's not like these are inborn and everybody, regardless of their experience, thinks of it this way. They vary. And it's just because it's 2 minutes and it's very fun, I'm going to just play this video for us. This is interviewing kids on gender roles. Okay, and so gender stereotyping in middle childhood and adolescence, we see changes. Stereotyping of personality traits increases steadily, becoming adult-like by age 11. And we see from kindergarten to second grade, in-group favoritisms start emerging, where girls find, think that other girls are more favorable, they have more favorable characteristics, and boys believe that boys have more favorable characteristics, so this is in-group favoritism. However, usually both groups view each other with more favorable characteristics, meaning girls also think about boys as having some favorable characteristics, and boys might actually think that girls also have some favorable characteristics, rather than thinking that they're better or worse. In time, girls exhibit more in-group favoritism and out-group negativity than boys. So at one point, they actually learn to think that boys are no good and girls are better, whereas boys don't seem to actually display this strong preference. And this also differs according to what areas is under scrutiny. So when we look at achievement areas, we see that upon entering elementary school, some subject matters start being categorized as male subjects versus female subjects. We all know about this because in our culture too, they are stereotyped that way. Doesn't mean that they don't teach these subject matters to boys or to girls. It is just that the expectations that families have, the expectations that teachers have, and later the expectations that children have of themselves and of their achievement in these content areas might actually vary. This influences competence. So what areas are thought to be more girl activities? What do you think? Huh? Verbal ability, literature, reading, writing. And which one is more for boys? Mathematics, yes. We will talk about this at the end of this lecture. We'll actually look at it and how it has changed across cultures over time. We will note that times are still changing, and that as education has become more prevalent in many countries where girls are also entering education at greater rates to at higher education, not just elementary school, but high school and university education, some of these stereotypes are changing. And so gender and stereotyping in middle childhood and adolescence, we see that as children grow older here, they actually start showing more flexibility. And this is the same for those who show low stereotype rigidity versus high stereotype rigidity, that actually they start viewing these two genders as more flexible. So they start being able to think that, for example, a heart surgeon could be a woman, a pilot could be a woman, a nurse could be a man, a kindergarten teacher could be a man, right? That's why it's so funny. Remember the movie with remember, you weren't born maybe, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he's like, he becomes a daycare teacher, Kindergarten Cop, I think it's called. Has anybody watched it? You made me realize how old I am. I just talked about how I was on the younger side of academia, and all of a sudden you made me feel again 100 years old. Okay, don't watch it. It's not a good movie, by the way. I don't want to trigger interest in this horrible movie, but yes. And so as children get older, they do get more flexible in their viewing of genders. They may understand that a person's sex does not determine their personality characteristics, their abilities, or their preferences. And they no longer view gender type behaviors as fixed or innate. That like women are born with empathy, for example. They stop thinking that men could have high levels of empathy too, right? But they are still intolerant of children who cross the gender line. And who gets ostracized more? Is it girls who cross the line or boys who cross the line? Who get boys? Yes. Boys who cross the line get more severe feedback from their peers, from their families. So nobody really cares all that much if a girl is a tomboy. The girl likes climbing trees and playing catch. But when a boy says, I want a cooking set because, or I want this Barbie doll, then parents and peers start scratching their heads and thinking there's something wrong, right? And so this is the case for, again, both Western and Eastern cultures alike, mostly. There are great individual differences in gender stereotyping. Ipek had pointed out to familial factors, for example, and they are true. Children may hold stable beliefs in one area, such as activities that males and females engage in, but they may actually view occupations differently because, say, they have experience with parents or loved ones who have occupations that cross these gender lines. Boys hold more gender stereotyped beliefs as compared to girls. And here we see culture actually, and this I talked about already, is a factor. And so there is individual variability. Let me see where I want to stop. Yes, I want to stop at the end of this chapter for a break. So hold on for another second. The evidence is mixed for the influence of stereotypes on gender role adoption. Stereotypes, so these are boys and girls. This graph doesn't really talk about this much, but it again shows boys and girls' preference for different types of toys. The reds are vehicles. So as you can see, boys prefer vehicles more and girls prefer dolls more. This is not very surprising, I guess. Several researchers replicated this finding with chimpanzees. That actually is very interesting. Are these biological, we will talk about that after the break, but are these biological differences that little girls and little boys are showing? Are we born differently, or how much of it is influenced by culture is something that we're going to discuss. But stereotypes do influence role adoption, and our preferences also influence stereotypes, so this bi-directional relationships. It may not be that important whether we have a stereotype or not, but maybe most important if we have stereotype flexibility, right? You might actually know about the stereotype, but whether you can think outside the box and you can flexibly employ these stereotypes to varying degrees, or you can inhibit employing them, actually matters maybe more than whether you know or not, right? Okay, so let's take a break for 10 minutes and then we'll come back and continue.